Tool number 4, 7 tools to understand how the brain works and how I think about things, has to do with systems and circuits. 4 systems or circuits. 1 is dopamine. 2 is the opiate system. And those are chemical systems in the brain. The 3rd system is the stress system, and the 4th system is the reward system. Now, these systems operate on different levels and things, but I just want you to have these as part of your working understanding, because when I think about how the brain works in 2016, the brain is made of circuits. We know that in studying brain. That's why in 2016, if I have a patient with severe obsessive compulsive disorder who picks her eyebrows for 6 to 8 hours a day and can't work and is tortured by this, and we've tried every medication and every therapy, and she's tortured. She has no life because she picks her eyebrows all day. I may refer her to a specialist center that can go in and clip one of these circuits. Because if it's not that, then she's going to spend her whole life driven by this malfunctioning circuit, right? And you can pray for her, and you can do everything you want, and I've done everything possible, and at the end of the day, that's a treatment option. So not to focus on OCD, although addiction has some obsessive elements, but to share with you, when we think about the brain as scientists, we think about circuits, these pathways that go over and over and over and get pretty well trodden. In 2016, to understand addiction, you have to understand the central opiate system. That's because one of the medications I use blocks the opiate system. That's because my profession, physicians, have screwed up a lot of lives by overprescribing opiates. And a lot of teenagers have gotten addicted to opiates, and I don't know that we haven't caused permanent scars in their reward systems by doing that. So we own that. We're trying to clean it up. Unlike, well, I don't want to say that. I was going to say, unlike some cults or cultures, we haven't done the big cover-up job and said it wasn't us. I get it. We're trying to fix it. But what everybody here needs to remember is you have an opiate system. I don't care if you're an alcoholic or an addict or sober or normie or a Pacific Islander. Every human mammal has an opiate system in your brain. There's circuits for opiates. One interesting thing you may want to know, don't worry about the words. This is just to remind me. But if I put something to light up the opiate systems in your brain, I can show that when you experience emotional pain, like my friend caused by leaving, my brain's going to release its own opiates to make me feel a little better. Your brain is releasing opiates all the time when you have emotional pain and things. There's like this self-regulating system. This is a similar thing. When you think about sad events, let's say you had a loss, your opiate system activates. So this system is going on all the time in our brains. And how do you think the placebo effect works? The placebo effect. It's been shown that if you have a pain in your foot, and I have a catheter in your back, and I say, I'm going to give you a very powerful pain-relieving drug, and I give you some morphine in your back, that you're going to feel better. And if I say, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but good luck, champ, that you won't have as much pain relief. Same molecule. Human beliefs work based on chemistry. So I'm only introducing all of this so you understand that the opiate system is one of the circuits involved in addiction. We know it's one of the circuits involved in alcoholics because you see those bright dots of red and the blue. This is a study I think about when I see every alcoholic. I tell them, I think your brain responds differently to alcohol than mine does. I might say in a different way, your brain likes alcohol. Now you may not because it's wrecked your life, but your brain does. What I mean is when we gave these volunteers alcohol, their brain's opiate system lit up. Now, alcohol is not an opiate, I know, but remember, point 1 is the brain's really complicated. And so one of the things that may have to do with the genetics of alcoholism, so let's think for a second. If I give you some DNA where this alcohol molecule releases a lot of internal opiates when you drink, is that person going to be more likely to develop an alcohol disorder? Yes, they are. And notice there were no supernatural concepts invoked there. This is part of the biology of the disorder. And if I block that may help people drink less. That's what naltrexone does. That's the opiate pathway. Another pathway, the dopamine pathway. I don't want to get too deeply into this except to say that this is the pathway that's been shown to create these weird, non-survival enhancing drives and motivation for substances that don't help you. And interestingly, you can activate this through magnetics and other things. That's how this TMS may work. And this is the system. This is New York. This is, everybody heard that addiction hijacks the brain? What does that mean, addiction hijacks the brain?
Takes over every process in your brain. It's all geared toward getting you towards your next dream.
Takes over every process in the brain. Can I edit your sentence? It's just going to make you sound even smarter. Are we good? How about if we said that addiction hijacks the dopamine system in your brain? You good? Okay, because Jeff said it's about motivation. Guess how I can enhance people's motivation? I can enhance people's motivation by increasing dopamine in your brain. We've done experiments about it. If I give you hard math problems, whether you have ADD or not and give you Ritalin, you're going to have more motivation to work hard. Animals, when I give them dopamine stimulators, will work harder to get food. If I destroy their dopamine receptors, they don't get addicted to cocaine. So the dopamine system is one of the systems that gets hijacked. It's like the plane in this picture. Now, the dopamine system is good for you because it helps motivate animals to find things, and it's a good thing to be motivated to do something. But when it gets hijacked, then you get a mess, right? This is a life with addiction. So the dopamine system in the brain is part of what gets hijacked. See how much smarter you can sound now? Well, the dopamine system is what gets hijacked, but it does. It was designed for one thing, and then it gets, those planes were designed to get people safe, and then they got hijacked. It's a bad deal. If dopamine is artificially increased, as it is by every addictive drug, then this leads to the production of desire or motivation independently of pleasure. This phenomenon is outside the bailiwick of a lot of people who don't have addiction. How can you like something? How can you do something that causes you pain? Because the dopamine system got hijacked. And something that causes me, so that's a way to understand this crazy behavior. I'm going to skip this slide. And I think I'm going to skip this slide too, just because I already said it. And I'm going to skip this slide too. I'm just attention to my time. Let's talk about a third disorder, two other systems. Reward and stress. What does that mean? What is reward and stress? This guy, George Koob, who wrote this article, is up north at Scripps, very smart fellow. So we should listen to what he says. He's been studying addiction for decades. What a reward deficit and stress surfeit, add that to your SAT list. That means too much. That means that people who suffer with substance use disorders, their reward system, what makes them feel good, dopamine and opiates are a part of that, and their stress system, hormones like cortisol are a part of that, that both of those systems are dysregulated. This is kind of new. We used to just talk about the reward system. So what that means is in the process of developing addiction, the blue line is when you first start using and things feel good, and feeling good is what drives the behavior. And what people who don't work with addiction or suffer with addiction don't get, they just don't, is that what drives the behavior for the whole rest of the time is the red line. I'm trying to not feel bad. People who don't work with addiction and don't suffer with addiction don't get that. They'll say things like the person just wants to get loaded all the time. They obviously have never talked to a person with an addiction because that's not the drill for the most of the lifespan of the disorder. And we know that this process of the positives and the negatives is driven by events in the brain. Please don't focus on this. The clinical point is this. When I'm sitting with my former friend here, and he's saying he has an alcohol use disorder, I'm thinking, again, your stress system may be really hot and bothered for a while based on all these cells in places that you don't care about, because I got to know that. And I may offer you some medication that's been shown in clinical trials to help you with your stress system, because if I say, bite the leather, Jim, and I say, hey, why don't we help you with some non-addictive, non-habit-forming medications to help your stress system chill out? You're going to do better than you are. Because bite the leather, Jim, leaves people whose stress system is oversensitive at high risk of relapse. That's why understanding brain science can be helpful. And that's why we offer some people in addiction and in recovery different medications because of these different systems.